You are the person everyone calls when life falls apart. When someone dies, you're the one planning the funeral. When bills pile up, you're the one lending the money. When families explode into conflict, you somehow become the mediator, fixing relationships you weren't even part of. And when someone looks you in the eyes and asks, "How are you doing?" your answer comes out like a reflex. "I'm fine, I'm handling it." And they believe you, because you always handle it. You always show up. You always keep moving. You always carry what other people drop. But there's a truth you never say out loud. You are exhausted. Not just tired, exhausted in a way that feels like your chest is carrying a weight that never lifts. Like your body is stuck bracing for an impact that never comes, but never stops threatening. And the scariest thought in your mind isn't, "I can't do this." It's this: if I stop, everything will collapse. Because somewhere along the way, you became the foundation, the emergency plan, the strong one, and society praises you for it. Your friends call you reliable, your family calls you mature, your co-workers call you unstoppable. But psychology has another name for this. This isn't resilience. This isn't strength. This isn't just being independent. This is a trauma response. It's called hyper-independence. A compulsive need to do everything alone, because relying on people doesn't feel like support. It feels like danger. And here's what makes it even more terrifying. This armor that once protected you is now slowly destroying you. It's draining your body. It's breaking your relationships. And it's keeping you trapped in a life where everyone gets the best of you, while you get the leftover scraps of yourself. So in this video, we're going to do something most people never do. We're going to deconstruct the strong one, why you became this way, what it's costing you, and how to finally put the armor down without falling apart. Because you don't need to be strong to be loved, and you were never meant to carry the world alone. Let's get one thing painfully clear right away. There is a difference between being independent and being hyper-independent. Healthy independence is simple. It's the ability to stand on your own 2 feet. It's, "I can do this alone if I need to." You can ask for help, but you're not terrified of needing it. Hyper-independence is different. It's not a choice. It's a compulsion. It's, "I must do this alone," because relying on other people is unsafe. And if you're hyper-independent, you probably live by a hidden rulebook, rules you never consciously wrote, but you've been obeying for years. Rule number 1, asking for help is admitting defeat. Rule number 2, needing people makes you a burden. Rule number 3, if you want it done right and safe, do it yourself. Now here's the paradox. While you're carrying everything, you also keep feeling this quiet, aching loneliness. You wonder, why doesn't anyone check on me? Why am I always the one giving? Why does it feel like no one ever carries me? And the answer is brutal. It's because you trained them not to. You have been so good at performing strength that the world has started treating you like you don't have needs. You've become a vending machine for support. Everyone comes to take, but nobody ever thinks to refill the machine. And once you see this rulebook clearly, you'll finally understand why your strength feels so heavy. Before we go deeper, I want you to do something with me. Not a quiz for entertainment, a real self-check. Because most hyper-independent people don't even realize they're doing it. They think it's just being responsible. So here are 10 signs you might be hyper-independent, even if you've never used that word in your life. 1. You would rather struggle in silence than ask for help, even when the task is small. 2. Rest makes you feel guilty, like relaxing is irresponsible. 3. You automatically take over when something goes wrong, even if it's not your job. 4. You tell yourself, "It's easier if I just do it myself," but what you really mean is, "It's safer." 5. You're uncomfortable receiving compliments, gifts, favours, because it creates a sense of debt. 6. When you're hurting, you disappear. You isolate. You handle it alone. 7. You don't share feelings. You give reports, facts, updates, not vulnerability. 8. You attract people who rely on you, and you confuse being needed with being loved. 9. You over-prepare for everything, because being caught off guard feels like danger. 10. And deep down, you believe this: if I'm not useful, I'm not worth keeping. Now here's the key part. If several of these hit you hard, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means your nervous system learned a strategy that once protected you. But what protected you back then may be quietly imprisoning you now. If you felt seen by this list, keep watching, because the next part explains exactly how this armor gets built in the first place. Here's the part most people get wrong. Hyper-independence isn't really about strength. It's not even about confidence. At its core, hyper-independence is about one thing: control. Because when you've lived through enough moments where support didn't show up, control becomes your substitute for safety. Think about what your brain is actually trying to do. It's not saying, "I don't need anyone." It's saying, "I can't afford to need anyone." And that belief doesn't come from ego. It comes from experience. Maybe you asked for help as a kid and no one came. Maybe your emotions were dismissed. Maybe you were told you were too sensitive, too dramatic, or selfish for having needs. Maybe the adults around you were unstable, loving one day, unpredictable the next. So your nervous system adapted. It learned a brutal equation: depending on people, sagi, danger. Doing it myself, here's survival. And once that wiring is installed, it doesn't turn off just because you grew up. It follows you into adulthood like an invisible operating system. It makes you overfunction, overplan, overcarry. Not because you enjoy it, but because letting go feels like stepping off a cliff. That's why asking for help doesn't feel neutral to you. It doesn't feel like support, it feels like exposure, like handing someone the power to disappoint you, and your body reacts as if you're in danger. Tight chest, clenched jaw, racing thoughts, even when logically you know you're just asking a friend. So no, you're not too independent. You're hyper-independent because at some point, needing people wasn't safe, and your brain decided, never again. One of the most common origins of hyper-independence is something psychologists call parentification. In plain English, you didn't get a childhood, you got a role. You were the kid who grew up too fast. Maybe your parents were emotionally immature. Maybe there was addiction, chaos, conflict, or financial stress in the house. Maybe nobody taught you this directly, but you could feel it. Your family system didn't have room for your needs. So without anyone asking, you stepped in. You became the peacekeeper, the mediator, the mature one. You learned to read moods like weather forecasts. You could sense tension before it exploded. You knew when to stay quiet, when to act helpful, when to be invisible, when to be perfect. And slowly, you started parenting the adults. You took care of siblings. You managed emotions. You absorbed problems that weren't yours. You handled what no child should ever have to handle. And the reward was subtle but powerful. When you were useful, you were praised. When you were responsible, you were good. When you carried the weight, you were loved. So your nervous system learned a dangerous lesson. Love isn't something you receive just for existing. Love is something you earn by being needed. And that's the tragedy of the parentified child. You don't grow up thinking, "I'm strong." You grow up thinking, "I'm only safe when I'm useful." That's why asking for help feels unbearable, because deep down, part of you believes if you stop being the responsible one, you stop being worth keeping. The second archetype is quieter, but just as powerful. It's what some therapists call the glass child. Not because you are fragile, but because people looked right through you. This often happens when you grow up alongside a sibling with a severe disability, chronic illness, addiction, or constant crisis. The family's emotional oxygen gets consumed by survival. Your parents are exhausted, overwhelmed, always managing the emergency. And you can feel it, even if no one says it out loud. So you make a subconscious vow, I will not be another problem. You stop asking, you stop complaining, you hide your fears, you hide your pain. You get good grades quietly, you handle your disappointments alone. When you fall, you get back up before anyone notices because you don't want to add weight to people who are already drowning. And over time, invisibility becomes your identity. You learn that needs create stress, that emotions create burden, that attention is something you don't deserve unless you're in a catastrophe. So you become the easiest child to raise, the one who never needs anything. But here's the heartbreaking truth. You didn't become independent because you felt strong. You became independent because you felt unseen. And a child who feels unseen eventually learns the same rule. Dependency is unsafe. So I'll disappear before I need anyone. Now we get to the deepest layer, the part nobody talks about. Because the real fear in hyper-independence isn't help. It's not even vulnerability. The real fear is something darker. If I need help, I might be unlovable. That's shame, not guilt. Guilt says I did something wrong. Shame says something is wrong with me. So when you consider reaching out, your nervous system doesn't just imagine inconvenience. It imagines rejection. It imagines being judged. It imagines someone thinking, wow, you're not as strong as I thought. And that's why the strong one becomes addicted to competence. You don't just want to succeed, you need to succeed. Because competence feels like proof you deserve a place in people's lives. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. Do you believe people would stay if you weren't useful? Because for many hyper-independent people, being loved and being needed got fused together early on. And once that happens, rest feels like laziness, receiving feels like weakness, and asking feels like humiliation. So you don't avoid help because you're arrogant. You avoid help because a part of you still believes, if I'm not useful, I'm not safe. Once you understand hyper-independence, a lot of your relationships suddenly make painful sense. Because hyper-independent people don't just handle everything. They often become magnets for a specific type of dynamic. And I want to be careful here. This isn't about diagnosing anyone. It's about recognizing patterns. There are two kinds of people who tend to orbit the strong one. First, the underfunctioner. This is the person who always seems overwhelmed, always trying, always falling apart. They might be sweet, even lovable, but they quietly outsource responsibility. They forget deadlines, they avoid decisions, they create chaos, and then rely on you to clean it up. And because you're hyper-independent, you don't just help, you take over. You become their manager, their planner, their safety net. You tell yourself you're being supportive, but over time, you're not in a partnership. You're in a rescue mission. Second, narcissistic dynamics. Again, not the label, the dynamic. The kind of relationship where your value comes from how much you give, how little you need, and how easy you are to control. A narcissistic person doesn't want a partner who has needs. They want someone who performs strength, someone who absorbs the stress so they don't have to. And hyper-independent people fit that puzzle perfectly. Because to you, being needed feels like love. It feels familiar. It feels like home, even when it's destroying you. This is the trap. You confuse intensity with intimacy. You confuse sacrifice with loyalty. You confuse fixing someone with connecting to them. And eventually, the pattern goes like this. You give and give and give until you're empty. Then resentment shows up, then guilt. Then you go back to giving because it's the only role you know how to play. This is why the strong one often ends up feeling lonely, even in a relationship. Because the relationship isn't built on mutual support. It's built on your labor. And here's the truth that changes everything. Being needed is not the same as being loved. Love doesn't require you to disappear. Here's the part most hyper-independent people underestimate. The cost isn't only emotional, it's biological. Because when you live like the strong one, your body never fully comes out of survival mode. On the outside, you look high-functioning, productive, reliable, calm. But on the inside, your nervous system is constantly scanning. What could go wrong? Who might disappoint me? What do I need to prevent? That's high-functioning anxiety. It shows up as over-preparation, overthinking, always having a backup plan. It's the feeling that if you relax, something bad will happen. So relaxation becomes impossible. Even your rest is strategic. Even vacations feel like logistics. And your body keeps receipts. Maybe it starts small. Tight shoulders, jaw clenching, headaches. Then sleep becomes lighter. You wake up tired. Your chest feels heavy. Your stomach gets sensitive. You feel wired at night, exhausted in the morning. Then comes the burnout timeline. At first, hyper-independence looks like success. People praise you. You deliver. You handle everything. But what they don't see is that you're running a marathon at sprint speed. Eventually, your system hits a limit. And when it doesn't break politely. It breaks through panic attacks, chronic fatigue, emotional numbness, sudden rage, or the terrifying moments where you realize, I can't keep doing this. Burnout isn't a possibility for the strong one. It's a guarantee, just waiting for the date to arrive. If you've seen yourself in this video, I need you to hear this clearly. You don't have to get rid of your hyper-independence. That armor once protected you. It helped you survive a season where you couldn't rely on anyone. But the war is over, and you don't need to wear a 50-pound vest just to walk through ordinary life. So here's a simple 7-day rewiring plan, not to change your personality overnight, but to teach your nervous system something new. Support can be safe. Day 1, notice the armor. Catch yourself in one moment where you automatically take over. Name it. This is my survival pattern. Day 2, micro ask level 1. Ask for something tiny. Can you grab me a coffee? Can you hold the door? Day 3, receive without paying back. Don't rush to repay, just say, thank you. Let support land. Day 4, speak one need out loud. Not a story, a need. I could really use some help this week. Day 5, set one clean boundary. Practice, I can't do that. No long explanation. Day 6, share one feeling, not one performance. I've been overwhelmed. I've been scared. Day 7, choose one safe person, not the whole world, one person. Practice leaning in small doses. Now, here are 5 scripts you can use today, because sometimes words are the hardest part. Can you help me with one small thing? I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen. I'm not okay today. I'm learning to let people support me. I can't carry this alone anymore. And if your brain screams, you're being a burden, let it scream. Then watch what happens. Most people don't reject you. They come closer. Because letting someone help you isn't weakness, it's trust. If this video spoke to you, subscribe and turn on notifications. We're building a community here where you don't have to be strong all the time. And tell me in the comments, what is one thing you've been carrying alone that you wish you could finally share? Thank you for watching.